All right, we're going to be jumping in talking about the M1928 SMG in Call of Duty World War II. Now, this weapon is mostly commonly known as the Tommy gun, but it's had a lot of different names over the generations. Some people called it the Annihilator. It was called the Chicago Typewriter, the Chicago Piano, the Chicago Organ Grinder, the Trench Broom, the Trench Sweeper, the Chopper. This weapon has many names, and it was a very popular and famous weapon that most everybody knew about during this time period. Now, the one thing I found was really interesting is I'm kind of doing some research just on the history of these weapons as well. The M1928 SMG was actually called the M1928 A1, and this weapon was originally developed by J.T. Thomson in 1918. So this weapon had been around for many years before World War II even happened. This weapon was known for having a .45 ACP cartridge or bullet casing, and it was known for its stopping power. It was a very effective weapon, especially because it was very accurate, and it also had a high volume velocity of rounds that could be put into one area at a time. I mean, it was a machine gun, right? Now, this weapon was not commonly used by all soldiers during World War II. This weapon was actually only given to those who were of special units like paratroopers or special forces that would go behind enemy lines. It was very well used for people that were doing street combat. But the people that normally got this weapon were people like sergeants, staff sergeants, generals, colonels, the people that were the leader of a unit. The one that usually was leading the unit into battle, that was the person that had the Tommy gun. And so this is really interesting because this weapon was actually considered a prestigious weapon to have during World War II. Everybody that got their hands on a Thomson was just really giddy and excited and just really had a high respect for this weapon. So how does this weapon perform? Well, this weapon has high firing rate, which causes you to kill your opponents very quickly. I really like that about it. But it has high recoil. This weapon has ridiculous recoil, and in a minute I'll show you a side-by-side of how it compares with a grip and without a grip. But this weapon just has ridiculous recoil, and you really have to be conscious of that as you're playing. Now, this weapon blitzes through ammo very quickly because of that high firing rate, and because of that, you tend to have to reload over and over. Now, this weapon has a 30-round clip, and it can be extended to a 45-round clip, and I almost suggest that you do that just so you're not having to reload your weapon over and over. Now, like I said, this weapon has poor range. It is not going to shine at range at all. This weapon is meant for getting up close and personal with the enemy. That is what it was designed for. That is how you're going to have to use this weapon. Now, because of that, this weapon kills very quickly up front. I believe it has a 4-round killing potential up close, and I believe it's 5 to 6 rounds at mid to longer ranges. Now, with that said, I'm going to show you guys how this weapon performs on a firing test with grip and without grip. So this first test is recoil without a grip attachment. You can see that it just goes crazy. It goes vertically and to the right. This is very troublesome, especially when you're trying to hit people at range. Now, the second one is with a grip attachment, and you can see that it's a lot more focused. It does have some vertical recoil, but it's a little bit more manageable. Now, this is just a treat. This is just to show you the hip fire spread without steady aim, and you can see that it just goes everywhere. And this right here is the hip fire spread with steady aim attachment put on. Alright, so how would I use this weapon? Well, first off, I really like this weapon just because it's a quick kill, but because of the recoil, it is not very manageable and you're going to be missing a lot of shots. So the first thing that I would do is slap on the grip attachment. I think that this is a very good complementing attachment that you can use with this weapon that really minimizes the recoil, and you're able to stay a little bit more true to the shot whenever you're up close and personal, or even playing people at range. Now, because this weapon also has really bad range, I would probably strap on advanced rifling, which gives you a little bit more damage at range than just not running with it, and you can be a little bit more competitive with those longer range engagements. And so that's how I would set this up. If you wanted to use the infantry and have an extra perk on there, I would suggest that you probably might use extended mags, just because that would minimize you from having to reload your weapon constantly. You get a little bit more ammo, and that's how I would use it. So I'm going to end it right there. If you guys want to continue to watch the rest of the gameplay, feel free. But if you like this video, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.